Nostalgia begins quietly. A song plays somewhere, and for a moment, the air feels thick with memory. Your chest tightens, but it isn't pain, it's something softer. The mind opens a door it built years ago, and light from another life spills through. We call it longing, but it's more precise than that. It's the recognition of time, the proof that we have moved, that life has moved with us. Every generation believes its childhood was slower, its world kinder. But what we miss isn't the past itself, it's the version of ourselves that could still be amazed by it. Psychologists call nostalgia a bittersweet emotion. Bittersweet because it heals even as it hurts. When we remember something beautiful, the brain releases oxytocin, the same chemical of comfort and love. At the same time, it lowers serotonin, leaving a trace of sadness in the bloodstream. Pleasure and grief braided together. That's why nostalgia feels like warmth that trembles. It's biology reminding us that joy and loss are never far apart. But nostalgia is more than emotion. It's a survival tool. In moments of uncertainty or loneliness, the brain replays scenes from the past to stabilize identity. It says, "You were real once. You are still real now." Those memories act like emotional anchors, keeping us from drifting too far into chaos. Yet each replay changes the recording. The image gets softer, the sound cleaner, the story kinder. We are not revisiting the past, we are remastering it. That's why every return feels better than it truly was. The ache isn't for what happened, it's for what we've edited it to be. Still, that illusion keeps us human. Without nostalgia, we'd have no map for meaning, no thread connecting our moments together. The past becomes our private mythology, and mythology, even false, gives direction. So when that old song finds you again, don't resist the ache, let it play. Because somewhere inside that ache lives gratitude for the life you've already lived and the person who's still listening. Memory feels like truth. Close your eyes and the picture appears. The color of the sky, the way someone laughed, the scent of rain on that day. But what you're seeing isn't the moment itself, it's your mind's latest repainting of it. Neuroscientists call this reconsolidation. Every time you recall a memory, the brain reopens the file, edits it slightly and saves it again. You don't remember what happened, you remember your last memory of it. Like a story rewritten by the same author over decades, it becomes smoother, kinder, more cinematic. The messy edges of truth are sanded down until all that's left is something emotionally believable, not historically accurate. That's why siblings remember childhood differently, why couples tell the same story but disagree on the details. Memory isn't a camera, it's a screenplay written by emotion. When we're happy, we exaggerate color. When we're ashamed, we fade entire scenes to black. The hippocampus, the brain's archivist, works hand in hand with the amygdala, its emotional sensor. Together they decide what stays, what changes, what gets erased for good. So our personal history is a negotiation between fact and feeling, a museum curated by the heart. The danger comes when we start believing that museum is reality. We fight over memories as if they were solid objects instead of living interpretations. But the truth is, memory serves identity first and accuracy second. It's not designed to record the world. It's designed to keep you coherent in it, to let you say, I am the same person I was, even when everything has changed. So the next time a memory feels perfect, remember this. Perfection is proof of editing. Your past isn't lying to you, it's comforting you. And that comfort, more than truth, is what memory was always meant to give.
Every emotion has a language. Fear speaks in adrenaline, love in oxytocin. But nostalgia, that strange blend of joy and ache, is a full orchestra of chemistry. And your brain is the conductor. When you hear an old song or smell something from childhood, your brain's hippocampus lights up first. That's the archivist, the keeper of where and when. It sends a signal to the amygdala, the emotional center, asking, how should this feel? And the amygdala answers with a cascade. Dopamine for pleasure, oxytocin for comfort,
and a whisper of cortisol for loss. That mixture is nostalgia's signature. Not one note of happiness or sadness, but the harmony between them. It's why your heart swells and your eyes water at the same time. When we revisit a cherished moment, the dopaminergic pathways, the same ones that make love addictive, awaken. Your brain rewards the act of remembering as though it were happening now. It gives you a taste of the past's sweetness, without the burden of living it again. But nostalgia isn't just indulgence, it's self-medication. In times of uncertainty, the brain uses memory to regulate mood. Studies show that people who engage in nostalgic thinking during stress experience a measurable rise in oxytocin and body temperature. Literally, they feel warmer. It's the body's way of reminding you that you belong somewhere, even if that somewhere no longer exists. There's evolutionary sense in that warmth. Early humans who could recall safety, a shelter, a meal, a loved face, could calm their bodies faster, make clearer decisions. Memory wasn't just storytelling, it was survival. The echo of the past helped them endure the present, but the chemical magic comes with a price. Every time nostalgia floods the brain, it activates the reward loop, a circuit that craves repetition. We start seeking the feeling itself, not the memory that caused it. That's why you replay the same songs, visit the same places, tell the same stories. You're chasing your own neurochemistry. That's also why nostalgia can turn heavy. When dopamine fades, it leaves a hollow, a chemical shadow. What was warmth becomes yearning. It's not the past we miss, but the biochemical comfort it gave us. And yet, in that ache lies balance. Nostalgia keeps us tethered. It tempers the loneliness of progress, reminding us that we were shaped by connection, by touch, by shared laughter. It slows the pulse of the modern mind, if only for a moment. The past doesn't return when you remember it, but the body believes it does. Your heartbeat synchronizes with the tempo of that memory. The brain lowers cortisol, eases the breath. You're briefly alive in two timelines at once, then and now. That's the miracle of nostalgia. It bends time without breaking it. It turns memory into medicine. But just like any medicine, the dose matters. A little nostalgia heals. Too much, and it blinds. Because the brain can't tell the difference between a memory that comforts and a memory that cages. The next time a smell, a song, or a photograph pulls you backward, remember, what you're feeling isn't the past returning. It's chemistry, reminding you that you once felt whole. And that wholeness still lives somewhere inside you, waiting to be noticed again.
Memory is not an archive, it's a studio. And in that studio, the artist is not interested in accuracy, only in feeling. Every time we revisit the past, the mind walks through its gallery of moments, brush in hand. It brightens the laughter, it fades the arguments, it repaints entire days in softer colors. You think you remember your school years, the smell of chalk, the sound of rain on the window. But what you remember most clearly isn't the event itself. It's how that event felt when your body was still young enough to believe that everything mattered. The brain doesn't store full days. It stores highlights, emotional snapshots surrounded by fog. Every recall trims the edges further until what remains is the emotional truth, not the literal one. In psychological terms, this is affective filtering. The brain preserves moments that affirm identity, that make our personal story coherent. Everything else, the trivial, the uncomfortable, it quietly edits out. It's why trauma dulls with time, not because pain disappears, but because the mind tires of carrying sharp edges. It wraps them in gauze. It tells you, you've survived this. Let's move on. And so the past becomes bearable. But in that mercy lies distortion, because the more we edit, the more we begin to love a fiction of our own making. Think of how a filmmaker cuts a scene. A glance here, a silence there, the rhythm decides what matters. Memory works the same way. You are the editor and the audience at once. The science is beautiful in its simplicity. The hippocampus indexes emotion.
The prefrontal cortex cleans it for continuity. Together, they make meaning out of chaos, the same chaos that once overwhelmed you. That's why nostalgia doesn't just recall, it reconciles. It tells us, yes, it was hard, but it led somewhere. It gives the pain purpose. But every edit removes a little truth. Every fade adds a little myth. Until one day, the version you remember is kinder than the person who lived it. And perhaps that's necessary. Maybe mercy is more useful than accuracy. Maybe the past must soften or it would crush us under its weight. Still, there's danger in too much revision. When memory becomes comfort instead of compass, we lose direction. We start living inside the reruns of our own mind, mistaking editing for evolution. Yet that's what makes the human story so delicate. We are both author and illusionist. Our memories lie, but they lie to keep us alive. So when you look back and feel the warmth instead of the wound, know that your mind has done its quiet work. It didn't betray the truth, it simply chose to protect the part of you still moving forward. We take photos to remember, but the moment we capture one, we've already begun to forget what it really felt like. A photograph seems honest, frozen light, proof of what was. Yet what it preserves best isn't truth, but framing. Every picture is a choice, where to stand, what to include, what to leave out. The rest of reality falls quietly outside the frame, erased forever. That's how illusion begins. We look at an old photo and feel a rush of warmth, believing it holds the past intact. But it's not the moment we remember. It's the image of that moment remembering itself. Our minds fill the silence of the photograph with imagined laughter, reconstructed sounds, the smell of air that no longer exists. We recreate what's missing until the picture feels alive again. But that animation happens inside us, not inside the photo. Neuroscientists have found that when people stare at personal photographs, their brains activate the same regions used for storytelling, not for factual recall. A photo isn't a key, it's a script. It doesn't unlock the past, it tells us how to narrate it. That's why sometimes the photo feels stronger than the memory itself. We've looked at it so many times that the image replaces the experience. It becomes the new, original. The day itself slowly dissolves, leaving behind a single, rehearsed frame. Photographs also trick the emotion of time. They flatten sequence, turn a whole afternoon into a heartbeat. A single smile in a still frame hides the argument that happened an hour later, or the loneliness that followed. But our hearts rarely question it. We see happiness and believe it was the whole truth. The more we document, the less we inhabit. We watch our lives through tiny screens, editing memories before they even exist. We compose smiles not for ourselves, but for our future nostalgia. Moments become staged rehearsals for who we'll pretend we were. Ironically, we end up with thousands of images and fewer memories that feel real. The camera remembers perfectly, and that perfection numbs the soul. Because life's beauty has always lived in imperfection, the blur, the motion, the noise. So when nostalgia strikes, we turn to photographs, hoping they'll help us time travel. But photos don't take us back. They hold us still. They freeze what should have kept breathing. Maybe that's why old pictures make us cry. They don't show us what we lost. They show us what we once believed could stay. Look closely at any photograph and you'll see two people, the one who lived the moment and the one who keeps returning to it. And between them lies the quiet truth. That memory is not in the picture. It's in the ache the picture leaves behind. Once, nostalgia arrived uninvited. A scent, a melody, a flicker of sunlight on an old wall. Now it's scheduled. Your phone knows exactly when to make you remember. Every morning, algorithms whisper, "On this day, 8 years ago," and a photograph you forgot appears like a ghost, familiar, glowing, surgically timed. What was once spontaneous emotion has become a push notification. We've built machines that study our patterns of longing. They know the faces that slow our scrolling, the colors that trigger warmth. They've learned that nostalgia is the most profitable form of emotion, soft enough to sell to anyone, powerful enough to keep you looking back. The digital world feeds on reflection because reflection is engagement. A few seconds staring at an old image tells the system, "Show me more like this." And so the past begins to echo, looping endlessly until it drowns out the present. In that loop, time stops evolving. Our feeds become memory museums curated by machines, endlessly rehanging the same portraits of who we were. It feels comforting, but it's quietly corrosive, because when nostalgia is automated, it loses its purpose, to help us make peace with change. Instead, it becomes repetition without growth. We see the same vacations, the same smiles, the same children frozen at ages they've already outgrown, and the algorithm doesn't care that we've moved on, only that we keep watching. There's a strange cruelty in that. The more our past is replayed, the less space the future has to unfold. We begin to measure life by what can be redisplayed, not what can be discovered. We used to trust memory to fade gently like ink in sunlight. Now it's refreshed, daily, kept alive by servers that never forget. The internet has become humanity's collective hippocampus, but one that refuses to let go. Sometimes that's comforting, a digital afterlife for moments we loved. But sometimes it's exhausting. The people we've lost still smile at us through curated timelines. The homes we left still exist in cloud storage. Nothing dies, it just lingers, pixelated. And in that endless echo, nostalgia shifts again. It's no longer memory looking backward, it's the machine looking back at us. We've taught it what to miss, and now it misses on our behalf. Maybe that's why we feel so haunted, because for the first time in history, the past doesn't wait for us to remember it. It remembers us, automatically. Nostalgia used to be a feeling. Now it's a business model. Every generation thinks it discovered nostalgia, but it's the merchants who perfected it. The faces on cereal boxes, the fonts on soda cans, the reboots on streaming screens, they're not accidents. They're invitations to remember a time when things seemed simpler, cheaper, kinder. Companies know that nostalgia bypasses logic. When we long for the past, we stop comparing prices, we compare emotions. A product that makes us feel like before doesn't need to be new, it just needs to remind us of who we were when we were happy. The entertainment industry has turned that realization into an art form. Movies are rebooted, songs are remixed, games are remade, not because we've run out of ideas, but because we've run out of certainty. Familiarity feels safe in a world that changes too fast. Psychologists call this the reminiscence bump, the period between ages 10 and 30 when most of our defining memories form. That's why the music of your 20s will always sound like home, no matter how much the world evolves. Marketers know this bump like a map. They mine it for rhythm, color, typography, and comfort. Every decade the cycle renews. The nostalgia of one generation becomes the brand identity of the next. The 90s aesthetic for today's adults, the early 2000s for tomorrow's. It's not just culture repeating, it's culture monetized. Even architecture participates. Cafes designed to look like film sets, neighborhoods that borrow the look of older cities, devices that imitate analog imperfection. It's all performance, the illusion of time travel for sale by the hour. And it works because nostalgia offers what progress rarely can: predictability. In an age of constant disruption, the past feels like the only stable brand left. You can't unsubscribe from memory. But the cost is subtle. When everything familiar is repackaged and sold, our emotional landmarks become commodities. The song that once made you cry is now a jingle. The toy that held your childhood wonder now wears a barcode. It's not evil, it's efficient. The system discovered that longing is renewable energy. It never runs out. As long as we miss something, there will be someone ready to sell it back to us. Yet even inside that transaction, something real survives. The feeling itself, that tiny ache of recognition, can't be mass-produced. It belongs to you, and that's what gives nostalgia its quiet rebellion. No matter how often it's repackaged, the memory it touches remains sacred. So when you see your past reborn on a billboard, smile if you must. But know what's happening. You're not buying what you had, you're renting how it made you feel. There's a line between remembering and returning. Nostalgia begins as comfort, but stay too long and it becomes a cage. Every time we revisit the past, we reinforce its emotional gravity. The brain rewards us for the familiarity, for the safety of known feelings. But that safety comes at a cost, the dulling of curiosity. When the past feels warmer than the present, the future starts to lose its shape. We begin to measure what's ahead by how well it resembles what's behind. Innovation becomes imitation. Dreams become reruns. You can see it in culture, in remakes, in sequels, in politics that promise to make things great again. We've mistaken repetition for progress, comfort for vision. But a society in love with its memories forgets how to imagine. In the brain, this has a name too: temporal bias. When memory pathways are strengthened by emotional repetition, the neural circuits for future thinking, the ones that model what could be, grow quieter. We literally stop rehearsing tomorrow. The future is a creative act. It exists only if we can picture it. And nostalgia, for all its warmth, steals that canvas from us. It fills it with echoes, leaving little room for possibility. That's why time seems to speed up as we age, not because the clock runs faster, but because novelty fades. The mind stops recording newness when it loops too long inside the familiar. Days blur, years shrink. We call that adulthood, but sometimes it's just amnesia for wonder. We trade imagination for security, and security slowly erases the unknown. Even on a personal level, the same pattern unfolds. We replay old conversations, old regrets, old loves, rehearsing ghosts instead of futures. The more we idealize what was, the harder it becomes to invent what could be. But the past was never meant to be home. It was meant to be foundation. The house we leave standing behind us as we walk forward into risk. To lose the future is to lose courage. To regain it is to remember that memory is supposed to guide motion, not replace it. That the purpose of nostalgia isn't to preserve time, but to teach us that time moves. The past is a beautiful place to visit, but you can't live there, because everything you love about it is the part that changed.
Every journey into the past eventually leads here, to the one place memory can't reach, the present. It doesn't sparkle like nostalgia. It doesn't ache like longing. It just is. Unadorned, unspectacular, alive. For most of our lives, we look backward for meaning and forward for hope. But both directions are made of imagination. The only thing that ever happens is this: a breath, a heartbeat, a moment choosing to exist. Neuroscience has a term for this state: present-centered awareness. When attention returns fully to now, brain activity in the default mode network, the part that replays stories of self, begins to quiet. The chatter of memory and prediction fades. In its place comes clarity, not of thought, but of presence. It's strange how rarely we live here. The mind is addicted to time travel, to wandering through everything it cannot change or control. Yet, every moment of nostalgia, every flicker of loss, points back to this simple truth. You can't lose what you're willing to notice right now. When people meditate, they sometimes describe a feeling of timelessness. It isn't eternity they touch, it's simply the absence of resistance. They stop clinging to before and after, and what's left is this gentle hum, life unfolding without commentary. The irony of nostalgia is that it tries to bring us home, but to a place that no longer exists. The gift of awareness is that it shows us the home that never left. Every breath, every small sound in the room, every beam of light through the window, all of it is the world remembering itself through you. When you notice that, even briefly, nostalgia softens. The ache becomes gratitude. You stop wanting to go back because you finally see what back was pointing to. This, right here. Memory will always edit, distort, and seduce. That's its job. But awareness doesn't need editing. It accepts. It lets the past be story and the present be truth. And that's how we heal the trap. Not by forgetting what was, but by living so vividly that what is becomes worth remembering. Maybe that's all nostalgia ever wanted. Not to pull us backward, but to remind us of what aliveness once felt like, to invite us to feel it again, now, without needing the past as proof.
So let the song play, let the photograph fade, let the past do what it was always meant to do. Teach you how precious this moment is, before it too becomes memory.